Do you own your stuff, or does your stuff own you? Lately, I feel like my stuff owns me, and I'm kind of tired of it. I have way too much stuff. I have a small townhouse. It's less than 1,000 square feet. It's not packed to the gills or to the brim, but close. I have a spare bedroom that is full of stuff. And it's ridiculous. I've always loved thrift store shopping, loved it, still love it, and it shows. I can find things that I need. I don't really need most of it, but the price is right. It's very inexpensive. It's not like I'm going to the mall, if there are malls. It's not like I'm going on to Amazon and just ordering all kinds of stuff. I don't do that kind of shopping. I like thrift stores, and I like the bin store now. It's where they have overstock items, and I only go on Dollar Day, so it's $1, which is even cheaper than the thrift store on some items. But it's a problem. It's a real problem. So with all this stuff, you know what I've realized? I'm tired of it. I am just up to here with going into my spare room, for instance, and thinking, oh my gosh, it's crazy. I have way too much in there, and so it's a problem. And I know they say realizing you have a problem is the first step to fixing it. And I feel like I've kind of gotten to that point, because each day I'm going into my spare room, sorting through. It's mostly Etsy stuff. I bought things to sell on Etsy when I had an Etsy shop, and I don't have one anymore. So most of the things in there are either things I was going to list on Etsy, because I didn't get everything listed. You buy just in case. And then you don't get around to listing everything. It just doesn't happen. It didn't for me. Or things that I listed and never sold. So if I bought them just to sell on Etsy and I don't like them, then they can go. That's the truth. And I'm working on that. So what about you? Do you have too much stuff? Or are you a minimalist and you actually, only have what you need? I aspire to be a minimalist. I don't think I'll ever be one, unfortunately. To get back to my spare room for just a minute, I am working on it each day for the past week. Almost every day I've been going in there, and I have these plastic drawers, they're in a plastic frame, and then they have like 2 or 3 drawers. And I've been working on 1 drawer or 2 drawers a day, or a box of stuff, or a tub, whatever. And I have gotten rid of quite a bit so far. I'm going to donate some of it. I've given some things to the neighbor who has offered to look through my fabric and linens and things like that I don't want before I donate them. And it's helpful to just get it out of the house. So it's just really hard. It is hard for me when I buy something. It's because I like it. And, it's hard to get rid of things you like, but it's necessary. I have too much. I have too many things that I like. It's crazy. And one thing that I'm able to get rid of, and I've been doing this every week for probably a month, is some of my packing material. I did a video about decluttering where I showed some packing material, boxes and, bubble wrap type things. Bubble wrap is so hard to get rid of because when I needed it, it was like gold. You need bubble wrap, but I don't need bubble wrap. I need to find somebody I could give my bubble wrap to, because I hate to just put it in the recycling. It's good stuff. I know it's not that valuable, but to me it was, and I hate to waste things. So I may have to try to find someone to give my bubble wrap to, but I'm getting rid of paper, like when you order a box from Amazon and it comes with this brown paper as, filler to take up some space, so everything doesn't jostle around in the box. I'm getting rid of that stuff. I was saving it because it also worked well when I needed to ship stuff, but I am putting it out in the recycling, and boxes and envelopes. I would save padded envelopes, just to reuse them, because I think that's great. I hate to buy something if I can get it for free, or to reuse something. I would rather do that. But I have to draw the line. So I am making a dent in the spare room by getting rid of packing material and a few items. This is a very good thing. Very positive. A step in the right direction. What I want to do with my spare room is use it as a guest bedroom. Wouldn't that be something? Huh. Yeah. Now people have to sleep on my pull-out couch in the living room because the spare room is just crowded with stuff. So my goal is to have it to where a bed would actually fit in there, and it would. I just need to get rid of stuff. That's the thing. Just have to do it. I could also set up a small desk or table in there and use it as a sewing room. Instead of having my sewing machine on my dining room table. That's where it is. That's where it lives. In fact, I never even put it away anymore. I just put the cover back on it when I'm not using it, so it doesn't get as dusty. And anytime I want to use it, I lift the cover off and I sew. But having it set up is key to using a sewing machine. If you have to, drag it out of a closet and set it on the table or something, because I don't have one in a case. It's just a portable sewing machine. But it's handy to have it set up, ready to use. And if I could find a spot in that spare bedroom to set it up, that would be ideal. It would keep my living room, dining room area, which is all just one big room, tidier. I wouldn't have all the stuff for my projects sitting out here. I could spread it out on a bed, which is what I would do. I know I've done this in the past, where I would use the top of a bed, to lay out my project and work on it, or cut out fabric or whatever. And that would be great, because it would be better than having it in my living area, for sure. Another thing is, this is a real problem for me. I like to rescue items. I have always liked vintage and antique things, and I kind of know what things are old, and I remember things from my childhood that my parents had, or aunts and uncles, or whoever, neighbors. And so I know if it was around then, and then I see one now, it's definitely, if not an antique, it's certainly vintage. I feel like I have to rescue things because I really like them, and I don't want them to be thrown away or, tossed, because I know a lot of thrift stores, if things don't sell, they just dump it in the garbage, which drives me crazy. It wasn't a good idea for me to ever volunteer at a thrift store, but I did, because I learned what happens, and it's scary. So here is an example. I wanted to show you this jar. Can you tell what this all is? Yeah, it's everything to play Monopoly except the Monopoly board. These are old wooden hotels. As there are a few plastic ones in here, but houses and hotels, a lot of them are wooden. And the old money and the cards. And I love this stuff. It's wonderful. I rescue things. I definitely do. I also have mini jars like this. They're small, but they have old die and marbles and little game pieces from Parcheesi or whatever. I love them. There's a little peg thing that would go. It's not me. It's a different kind of peg. This is a wooden peg. And, just to play different games. And again, if I find these, I buy them, because I don't want them to end up in a landfill. And they don't take up much room. Justification, yes. But love them. And another thing I buy that I rescue, this is crazy, a gigantic jar full of wooden spools. I didn't buy the jar full of wooden spools. The jar is Red Penguin Food Products, Detroit, Michigan. I bought the jar because I knew it was old. I love graphic labels, and like, this is an old metal lid. I just love this stuff. I mean, it makes me feel good to have this kind of stuff around. But I bought all of these wooden spools with old thread, which, you know, the thread isn't good. It breaks and stuff, so I don't sew with it. But I sure like looking at my jar of thread in my old jar. I'm not going to apologize for it. I like this kind of stuff, so I rescue it. It's a problem. But I have stopped buying wooden spools. Haven't bought any in weeks, maybe even a month. I used to search out these things every time I went to a certain thrift store, and I would buy as many of them as I found. But I have hundreds of them. I don't need any more, and they seem to be common enough to where somebody else can take over rescuing the wooden spools. My job here is done. Another thing that I rescue or always look at thrift stores is fabric and buttons. If they're cute or pretty or sweet or different or just something I really like, I buy them. I try not to anymore because I have lots of fabric and I have even more buttons. It's kind of crazy. But I was sorting through my fabric, and I've given some to a neighbor who said she sews. And so she said she likes to have some on hand. And I said, good, I have some that you can have. And I told her, give back what you don't want because I don't want her to throw it away or something. And I don't think she would, but I will donate it if she doesn't want it. And as I was going through my fabric, I realized I have a lot of old quilt fabric, and I cut them up into pieces, like, I don't know, 2-foot square, and I would sell them on Etsy, or just smaller pieces, whatever. People use old quilt fabric, which is damaged in some areas, to make things like stuffed animals or a pincushion or whatever. I sold a lot of old quilt fabric. Lots of people do on Etsy. It's a supply. So I thought, I'm going to use some of that and make something myself. So I decided I would make some moths. So it's a little hard to show you, but this is a moth I made. Here's his feelers. Do you see him out here in front? And it's old quilt fabric and a linen that has that's machine embroidery. It's not hand embroidery, but it's still pretty. It's kind of fancy for me, so I covered up a lot of it. But I love the quilt fabric. I'll show you the other ones I made real quick. I used a crazy quilt to make a couple. I really like this. It's silky, satiny material, and it's just a couple. It's really easy. Go online and search for a moth pattern. You could also make butterflies. Here's another little moth that I used. I just love this kind of old fabric. Somebody hand quilted this. All these little stitches are done by hand. They're not done on a machine. I can't let that get thrown away. And the last one, this is another one from the Crazy Quilt silky fabric. And it's beautiful. I mean, I don't know. I may give these away and somebody will go, oh, thanks. And then I'll say, you don't have to keep it. You can give it to someone. Because, what I think's good and what other people think is good aren't necessarily the same thing. But I do like to make things like this, and I like to make them all different. If I have to make the exact same thing all the time, no thank you. Not interested. So that's what I do with some of my supplies that I have when I get in the mood. And I actually have a lot more fabric out. I'm going to make more moths because I'm in the moth making mood. So you may be wondering, am I a hoarder? Sort of. Not really. I mean, I have a path here in my house. I don't have to like move sideways to get through anywhere. I can walk straight on. So I don't think I'm a hoarder. I'm not a hoarder. I'm a collector. I'm a rescuer. But I have to stop. And I don't want to get to the point where, oh, I can't get rid of that. And then I just keep stacking boxes on top of boxes and have things up to the ceiling. I don't want to do that. I want to have a clean, tidy house. That's what I'm working toward. Of things that I really want. I want things to mean something. I want to really like them. If I don't really like something, I'm trying to get rid of it because I have plenty of stuff. I can just go through and pick out my favorites and I'll have plenty. So I'm donating stuff. I'm giving things away. I'm making some things to try to pass the items along in a different manner than what I found them in. After all, I bought it at a thrift store, and to the thrift store it shall return. And my big realization is that you can't take it with you. What I'm thinking in the short term is if and when I move, because I like to move, and I might do that again. It costs a lot to ship stuff. It really does. So if I only have the things that I really like, there won't be as much, which is a good thing. And I've spent way too much money shipping things when I could have just replaced it at another thrift store, because that's where I shop. I don't like shopping at a mall if there are still malls. I don't order things from Amazon. I'm not that kind of a shopper. I do go to the bin store, but only on Dollar Day, as if that makes a difference when it still takes up space, whatever you pay for it. But I don't want to have a huge amount of stuff to move, or the big one, when I die. Because I'm going to die, just like you are. We all are. And I don't need to have all my junk sitting around for somebody else to deal with. That's not necessary. Because you can't take it with you. You just can't. So if you're new here, I am Do-It-Myself Peg, and I appreciate you stopping by, whether you're returning or if this is your first video of mine that you're watching. I really, truly appreciate that. And if you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel if you haven't. And let me know if you have too much stuff. Are you a collector like me? I'm not going to say, are you a hoarder? Because you're probably not, But if you do collect things or have too much stuff, what kind of stuff is it? Is it just a variety like me? I also love books. I buy books. I don't have a ton of them these days, but I have a bookcase full right over here, plus a lot of them in my bedroom that I haven't read and I need to weed out because I have too many. I can't read them all. It's kind of intimidating. Sometimes I look at my stacks and I go, oh my gosh, this is too much. But I love books, so it's not too much. Do you have too many clothes or shoes, knickknacks, kitchen gadgets or appliances? Is there something that you like to, if you see something new, you have to get it? I'd just like to hear that I'm not alone. I hope I'm not alone. So let me know in the comments below, and I will see you next time.